Wichita police say an officer involved in a crash back in April while responding to a call no longer works for the department. While police said they could not say why, the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office telling us that they received the investigative report from the Highway Patrol and expect to make a charging announcement early next week. FactFinder obtained the KHP investigation into that crash to find out what happened. The Kansas Highway Patrol crash report states now former Wichita police officer Jace Bennett was responding to a call that another officer needed assistance. But the investigation shows while Bennett was driving through Hillside and First, he did not yield and clear the intersection despite having a red light.
I'm on First and Hillside and we got an officer that's crashed out.
Bennett in his police unit crashed into a vehicle that had 4 people in it. Both vehicles were destroyed and all 5 were taken to the hospital after the crash.
First in Hillside for an injury accident. Be advised the officer is involved in this accident.
The KHP report states Bennett was driving with his emergency lights on, but could not determine if his sirens were on as well. 5 out of 7 people interviewed after, including all 4 in the car that was hit, said they did not hear a police siren. Also at the time of the crash, the officer's body-worn camera was in sleep mode and did not capture the collision. According to the report, the KHP investigator tried to interview Bennett at the hospital, but a Wichita police captain said the officer was too out of it to provide a statement at that time. The report goes on to say that the trooper waited at the hospital, but was eventually told by nursing staff that the officer had been discharged and left. And Wichita police said they recognized the seriousness of the incident and requested KHP to conduct the independent investigation. In a statement, WPD said Chief Sullivan also initiated a concurrent professional standards investigation due to the seriousness of the incident. We cannot comment on specific findings from internal investigations and personnel matters. Bennett's last day at the Wichita Police Department was on June 1st.